Well, good afternoon, everyone. It is 4/4/2020. We have a power 444 day, which is so auspicious, I think. And welcome back to our One Heart, One Earth Global Healing Summit. My name is Lisa Gunshore. I am a channel and a functional Ayurvedic practitioner, and I'm also your host for this incredible, now 2-week long Global Healing Summit during this mass ascension on the planet Earth. And I am so happy to welcome back to our summit Suzanne Hunt, my dear friend, my colleague, one of my teachers and healers. Welcome back, Sue, and I'm going to hand it off to you. Just welcome.
Awesome. Thank you, Lisa. I'm so happy to be here. And so what I wanted to talk about today, I know many of us are looking for ways that we can navigate the times that we're in with more grace and ease, and looking for ways to empower ourselves to be grounded and to make decisions from a place of wisdom and strength. And today we're going to talk about some ways we can calm the body so that we can be in that grounded space of wisdom. And we're going to talk about using calming the vagus nerve with some energy to kind of relax the body. The vagus nerve is the parasympathetic energy manager, if you will, on our body. We're going to talk about some ways that we can release energy that doesn't support us and clear that out of our space. And then also some tools to prevent foreign energy from coming into our space that might creep into our space that would shift us or throw us off center. So I'll tell you just a little bit about myself. Again, my name is Suzanne Hunt. I'm a clairvoyant or an intuitive, an energy healer, spiritual teacher, and a minister for the Church of Infinite Spirit under Lawrence Guy. And I came into my spiritual practice about 15 years ago when I learned to meditate. Prior to that time, I was a little bit kind of scattered and not making very good decisions for myself. And when I learned to meditate, I realized that the reason that was happening was because I am so empathic that I was absorbing energy from around me. And so not having a lot of clarity about where I wanted to go or what was right for me. So when I learned to meditate, then I could bring that clarity in, and I was able to use my empathic nature to open up my intuitive gifts. And I attended 3 clairvoyant schools here in Colorado to study energy techniques for healing. And I built a suite of those techniques that I use with my clients and for myself to keep my energy clear. So with that, we'll go ahead and get started. And today, since we're going to be working with energy, I'd like to lead you through a short 3-step method to set your energy space. And so if you would, just get comfortable in your chair or the couch or the room that you're in. And take a nice deep cleansing breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, and settle back into that chair or that couch that you're on. Let yourself feel the sofa or the chair behind you and underneath you. Let your body start to relax and go soft. And you can close your eyes and just imagine that you're letting go of any of the thoughts or the things that you were doing before coming to the session, and also releasing and setting aside any of the to-dos that you have for this afternoon, so that you can be present here today to be part of this learning these techniques, and you can I invite you to receive and take away what's right for you and leave the rest. So as you settle into your chair, I would like to invite you to ground. You can ground any way that you like, but I like to ground from the base of my spine. And a nice way to do it is with a nice colored shaft of light. You can pick any color, not black or white, but red, blue, green, purple, pink, orange. Just imagine that you have a nice shaft of light growing from the base of your spine. You might allow it to be as wide as your hips. And just you're sitting there with your eyes closed, and you can just allow that visual, um, that visual picture of that grounding cord, that shaft of light going down through the chair that you're on, down through floorboards, down into the center of the earth. And when you do that kind of a grounding, it lines up your chakras so that you can be in your highest truth. And it acts as a trash chute to release any energy that you don't need and it's not supporting your highest and best good. And the next thing I'd like to invite you to do is to open up your intuitive center. And that is in the center of your head. It's behind your eyes, a little bit above your ears. Just right here is where our sixth chakra is, our intuitive center. And you can just imagine that your awareness is in your intuitive center and that you're turning on the light, if you will. You can pull the chain or flip the switch in your imagination. Just let your light shine in your sixth chakra. And when we open up the space, we're of course opening up our intuitive space so that we can be more in tune with our spiritual awareness, but we're also in that space where we can create our reality from our own pictures and our own intention. Because we manifest from the third chakra, but we create where we're going and the pictures of who we are and what we want to experience in the larger life, larger experience of life from our sixth chakra. So we can generate where we want to take ourselves from this space. So just having your awareness hanging out there behind your eyes. And then the third step I'd like to invite you to do is to paint the outside of your aura bubble, which is about, your aura bubble is about an arm's length out around your space. And you can just see a color on the outside of your bubble. Again, it could be pink, blue, red, green, any color you'd like to use. And just see the outside of that bubble all around you, above your head, 12 to 18 inches down below your feet, around you, protecting you in that space. And the aura bubble is just a nice, supple, free-flowing kind of a bubble. And with that protection, it allows you to create from your own pictures, your own energy, and your own chakras. And it keeps a boundary for all foreign energy to prevent that from coming into your space. So that can be any color. And when that feels complete, you're grounded, you're in your center of your head, and your bubble's a nice color, you can come back to the room and we'll get started. You can open your eyes. So I want to talk about a way we can calm the body and relax it using our vagus nerve. And I'm going to use a PowerPoint. See if I can get this going. Actually, I want to be on the presentation. So I actually already talked about this, that we're going to calm the bodies in a natural way. We're going to release energy that doesn't support us. And then we're going to use a third tool to protect our energy from other people's upset or any free-floating anxiety. And so here's a picture of the vagus nerve. And I found this picture out there. You can see that the nerve, it's actually starts up in the face and around the face. There's a lot of the twisting and tangly little nerve endings around the face. There's some around the neck, if you can see, and there's some that are coming out from the back. There's actually two cords with the vagus nerve that go all the way down the back to the spine. And you can see that some of them come around the upper stomach, and many of them are showing up around the gut and the hips area. So that's what probably a more natural picture of the vagus nerve is, it's actually the longest and most complex of the cranial nerves. Am I sharing my screen?
I'm just hopping on. Yeah, we can't see your screen.
Um, Let me get back to Zoom. You know, folks, I'm so sorry. I forgot to share my screen. Share. I'm sorry. I'm just not your best technical person, but here we are. Can you see it now?
Yes, that's perfect. Thank
Okay,
you.
thank you. Sorry about that. So, so the vagus nerve. This is like a more lifelike picture, and that I'll kind of mention this again. You can see those nerves around the face and around the brain. And then in reality, we have two cords going right down our back. And we have these little tangly pieces coming out, these viney looking pieces, a lot of them around the back, around the upper stomach, and then lots of them around the gut and the hips. And it's actually the longest and most complex um, nerves coming out of the cranial section of the body. And it contains the energy and the body's pathways to open up the parasympathetic nervous system. And many of you may be aware that our sympathetic system is our fight or flight system. It allows us to, escape or run or move quickly when we need to. And then our parasympathetic nervous system allows us to relax, to settle in for sleep, to our body to relax for digestion and meditation, and to be in our best our best centering and our best connection with spirit. So being in our parasympathetic system or opening up that channel and activating it helps us calm the body and relax. And when this is activated, it actually turns off that fight or flight system. And it's called the vagus nerve because it actually wanders like a vagrant all the way down through our body, which I thought was interesting. I did a little research to prepare this talk. And one of the things I learned is that the parasympathetic system, or this vagus nerve, is really responsible for our mind body connection because it is the nervous system that connects the brain to our body. So when we activate it, we are truly activating our mind body connection. It has the role between our thinking and our feeling. So it can relax us, it reduces the heart and blood pressure, and again, it helps prepare us for sleep or to relax. So I found an interesting piece of information. There was a Psychology Today writer who said, oh, when people say trust your gut, what they really mean is trust your vagus nerve. So I liked that one. So this one has the picture of the actual squiggly, scraggly um, nervous systems. And I want to show another picture that might be easier to use for our visualization techniques. I like this one because it simplifies. It shows how the vagus nerve connects us to our spiritual center, to our brain. It's up in the head and the face. It goes down the back and down into our gut and down to our base of our spine. So when we're working with energy techniques or visualization techniques, we can simplify the picture. And so I might encourage you to use this one. But if you like the one with the scraggly nerves, you're welcome to use that as well. So when we work with energy, we work with attention and intention. And we heal energy with our thoughts by seeing the situation or the person or whatever it is that we want to heal ourselves in the most natural, whole, and complete way, the most perfect way back to wholeness. So we can heal using imagery and intention. And it doesn't matter if we're doing it right. When we're working with intentions, we're really intending what we want to happen. So we don't need to worry if it's just right or perfect because our intention brings that healing about. Um, Another thing I want to mention is if we're doing some energy techniques, it doesn't matter if we see anything or not, because energy happens whether we see it or not. It happens through our intentions. So the way to start is to just use our imagination with our attention and our intention to create the kind of energy we want to live into. So we can set the energy in the vagus nerve to be more calm and to relax the body. And one way that it is, I like to do this, is to set it at cobalt blue. Cobalt blue seems to be a very calming color for the vagus nerve. And when I teach this, people have said, well, what is cobalt blue? So I looked up a picture and put a little block of that color there. If I were artistic enough, I'd be able to color this in a picture, but I think you can use your imagination. So when we imagine cobalt blue on our vagus nerve, we can just imagine that that color is coming up over the face, to the top of the head, down the back, down through the neck, down the center of our back, and down into our gut, and down to the base of our spine. And you can envision the vagus nerve as just one channel, if that's easier, or even just as a color that flows from the face, around the top of the head, and down the back and into the gut. So you can hold it as long as you would like to. You can set it and then go about your day. You can do this in meditation, or you can do it on the fly after you've kind of practiced a few times. So what I'd like to do is to have us, let's try it. Let's go ahead and give this energy technique a shot. So if you would go back into your meditation space, close your eyes for just a moment. Take a deep breath and settle in. Notice your grounding cord is still in place. And notice that you're in your center of your head. And notice that you've got that nice, pliable, supple, protective bubble around you, also with a color. And then if you would, go ahead and choose which picture or how you want to color your vagus nerve with cobalt blue. You could always try a different color if you like. So choose cobalt blue or the color you want to work with. And then just imagine that color coming up over the face, into the head, down the back of the head, down through the neck. Let that energy coalesce around the vocal cords, down the back, in the spine, and then down into the gut. Just let that energy run for a while. And in your mind, you can just imagine this whole vagus nerve is a glowing cobalt blue or whatever color you're using, stabilizing, calming, creating a sense of peace in your body. Imagine it's in your brain, back of the head, neck and shoulders, spine, gut, tailbone. Just let that color remain on your vagus nerve for a little while. And when it feels like it's completely bathed in that color, you can go ahead and come back to the room. And I'm going to stop sharing for just a minute. How do you feel? I hope you're feeling better, more calm, better sense of peace in your body. You can try that over the course of the next few days. It's just working with energy techniques and tools is like any kind of thing. You can practice it. The more you practice it, the more easeful it will feel. Just like riding a bike, learning to drive, learning to cook, anything that you've done. It takes sometimes a little bit of practice. Folks that have been working with energy before or who meditate frequently might find that happens in a snap. But if it doesn't happen immediately, or just keep practicing is what I would invite you to do. So I want to make a note. There's a couple of other ways we can open up our vagus nerve and activate it. In my research, I found, not surprising, that deep breathing techniques activate the vagus nerve because they are activating those nerves around the throat. So if you have used deep breathing techniques of any kind, you're bound to be activating that vagus nerve. So do that for yourself. Another way that I found is actually a cool way to activate your vagus nerve is singing. Singing, humming, chanting. I know Lisa's uses a lot of chants, and I was like, wow, who knew? And even gargling can activate your vagus nerve. So use some of those techniques as well as the cobalt blue, and calm your body and relax in a way that makes sense for you. Now, one question that I'm frequently asked when we do these techniques is, do I have to be in meditation to use these techniques? And the answer is no, you do not. Now, of course, when we're in meditation, we're in that light trance state. We might, if we do the techniques that I offered to ground and set your space early on, you'll have opened up your intuitive center and your sixth chakra to help create that energy. But in a pinch, you can, you're having a stressful day, you can step into another room. My secret is at the office. If I needed to get away, I'd step to the ladies' room, do a little energy work for myself, and come out refreshed. Close your eyes for a moment, see that cobalt blue. Do some breathing techniques if you like that better, but activate that vagus nerve for your body. I hope that tool will be useful to you. Now I want to move to another tool that might be useful. And this is using a rose, an image of a rose, to clear energy from your space that doesn't serve you any longer. And there's probably lots of ways to do it, but I'm going to teach the way that I use it. I like to use the image of a rose. And I wasn't able to get a fresh rose today, nor was I able to get a silk rose for this conversation. So I do have one that's not 3D, but it's an image so that we have something to look at. And so I'm just going to bring that up. And when you think about a rose and using it for your energy, I hope that's not too glary. You can imagine a rose and imagine the petals. Just imagine the petals on your rose when we're in our meditation. Imagine this rose hip right here, what the stem looks like, and if your rose has leaves. So when we work with our intention and attention, the more attention we put into that visualization, just using our imagination, the more vivid the picture we're going to have is, and the more powerful that energy is, because it will feel like we can connect to it, will feel more real. And so I would encourage you to do that. So what we can do is, on the next technique, we're going to use a tool to release energy from your space. So we can just imagine that rose is out in front of you in our imagination. So you'll create an image and maybe imagine it about 12, 16, 18 inches out from your space. And you can have it out there, imagine it, and just let any energy that you want to let go of. I'm feeling stressed. I'm feeling worried. I'm feeling distracted. I'm having a hard time getting into my meditation, or whatever it is that you want to do. I'm not feeling connected with spirit. What's in my way? Use your rose to clear out the energy that is blocked. Now, we don't have to know what that energy is to clear it. I just want to be emphatic about that. We use our intention and attention. So we can heal ourselves without knowing what it is. Although with some practice, you'll probably have a sense of it and know what's clearing out of your space. So we can have this rose just out in front to help release any of that free flowing anxiety that's out in the world right now. To just release that out of our space. I just want to release. We can do, we can use this rose image that you're going to create on top of our head to clear any energy that is getting in the way of our connection with spirit. We can use it right in the, let it imagine there's a rose sitting right out in front of our sixth chakra to remove any energy that's blocked our clarity or our intuition, or our intuitive wisdom. We can have it right here. We can have, we can imagine that rose floats down to the throat area to release any energy that prevents us from saying the things that we need to say, from speaking our truth, or that blocks our expressiveness. Um, we can have that rose over our heart space and allow that to remove and release um, any self-judgment or resistance, and to bring in so that we can create more compassion for ourselves, more self-validation. We can have that rose. It's not really going to show on here, but at the solar plexus, which is that area right in the upper abdomen, just below that V in the rib cage. And our solar plexus is right there, and we can release any resistance and to allow ourselves to be in a space of allowing, in a space of acceptance. Because when we're grounded and accepting what's happening, we can move through it with more grace and ease. Um, we can have that rose down in front of the lower abdomen, which would be our second chakra, to clear out any emotions that are coming up. Some of us are intuitive through our second chakra. We intuit through our feelings, so we can release other people's energy from our intuitive center if you feel energy bring in intuitive messages that way. And we can have it at the base of our spine or visualize it at the base of our spine to clear out any feelings that or energy that creates us that prevents us from feeling safe and secure, and so we could create more security for ourselves. So again, some notes before we try this one out. You may get an impression of what's clearing, but if you don't, again, you can just know that the energy is clearing because we're working with attention and intention. Another thing, if we're working with our feelings in the second chakra, I want to repeat something that I talked about on Thursday, which is very important. We can clear energy out of our space, but if we have deep-seated emotions, we have feelings that we need to process, we do need to take some time to let ourselves feel those and process those emotions. Because if we don't process those emotions in the body, we end up having that mental chatter. It goes around in a circle in our brain and we can't let go of it. But if we have the courage to allow ourselves to feel those strong emotions and move them with courage, they eventually will dissipate. But that's on my talk on thoughts are energy. So I'm going to stay focused back on our energy tools for today. So lastly, just let yourself be in kindergarten and release any effort that like, oh, am I doing it right? You're doing it just fine, because however you do it is the right way for you. We all see energy differently. So if you're ready to get started and try this one out, take a deep breath and sit back in your chair and connect again with the chair or the couch underneath you and in the back of you. Close your eyes and come back to centering in your space. Check in and notice your grounding cord with that nice colored shaft of light that you set up. And check again that you're in your sixth chakra in the center of your head, that your awareness is in the center of your head, behind your eyes and between your ears. And then just check in and notice that colored bubble around you, protecting you. All right, so we'll get started. You might think about what energy you would like to release today. Do you have an energy you want to release from a specific chakra? I'm going to go through them like we did when I was explaining it a moment ago. So you'll have an opportunity to tune in or just intentionally release whatever you would like from that chakra. You can imagine that you're releasing just any energy. I want to release stress today. I want to release um, any negative energy from my space. I want to release anything that comes up for you. Um, or maybe just that free floating anxiety that's out there, just clear any of that out from your space. So we'll go ahead. You're in your meditation space, and you can just imagine a rose out in front of you. Notice what color you would like your rose to be. You could pick any color. It can be a natural color like red or pink or yellow, orange. You could have blue or green, any of the cool colors. Purple. You could have a variegated. Just notice what color or colors you would like to use in your image of this rose that you're creating. Notice the petals. Are they open? Are they closed? What does this rose look like? Help it become real. Notice the stem, and does it have any leaves on it? Notice the connection between the rose stem and the flower. We call that the rose hip. Just notice that whole picture of that rose, the color, the petals, the softness of the petals, how open it is. And we're just going to go and imagine that rose is first just floating out in front of you. Maybe it's about, 15, 18 inches out, just a little bit of space out from the front of your bubble. Just let that rose start to collect any energy that you're releasing from your space during this meditation. And next, I'd like you to invite you to imagine that rose is floating up to the top of your head. Just imagine it's floating around. That beautiful rose of whatever color you've chosen is up at the top of your head, releasing any doubt about your connection with spirit. Move any energy that would prevent you from connecting in and having your spiritual wisdom. Just let it pull off any doubt and let it float down. So maybe it's 6 inches or so out in front of your sixth chakra, that area right in the front of your forehead, and let any energy release that. Maybe it's mind chatter or worry or fretting or any energy that's not yours. And let that flow into the rose, opening that space for you to have more clarity, more intuitive wisdom, and more neutrality. I love to be in my neutrality. I'm just neutral. You can allow that rose now to float down and let it float a little bit out in front of your neck, in front of your throat. And let that energy pick up and release any withholding, any energy that prevents you from speaking your truth. Letting any energy that gets in the way of your permission to say what you need to say and do what you need to do. Just let that release into the rose. And then let that rose float down over your heart space, right in the center of your chest. And let any self-judgment release out into that rose so that you can allow and open up more self-compassion, more validation for yourself, and the ability to give yourself exactly what you need in the moment, in every moment. And then allow that rose to float down out in front of your solar plexus, that space in the upper abdomen, right between the V in the rib cage. And allow that rose to pick up and pull out of your space any resistance that prevents you from accepting what is, from being in that free flowing, allowing space to move forward in life the way you need to move forward, to move through challenges of life. And then let that rose float down to the lower abdomen, releasing any fear or emotions, clearing those out of your second chakra in the lower abdomen so that you can open up a sense of calm, receive the intuitive messages that you might receive from that space, be connected with your own feelings. Sometimes we have painful feelings, but our feelings of joy and feelings of happiness, a lot of those do start in the second chakra. And then let that energy float down to the base of your spine, which is right there just below your hips, and let it pick up any energy that might be causing you to not feel safe. Not feel safe to do what you need to do, to take care of your family, your body, your friends, and your loved ones. And let it remove any energy that prevents you from being grounded, even in the space of uncertainty. And then imagine that rose floating up again, kind of in the front of your space, and just let it pick up any energy that's residual, that's ready to leave. And when this is finished, what we're going to do is we're going to allow this rose to float up away from our space. Let it flow up into the upper part of the room. Let it flow out of the room and the building you're in into the sky. And let that rose, we're going to destroy it. And we're going to destroy that energy so it becomes recycled. And you can do it a number of ways. You can blow it up, explode. You can watch it burn up, imagine it's just set on fire, all that energy leaving your space. Or you can do it a fun way. If you remember Star Trek, when Scotty was out coming back from his adventures, he came and stood on those round spots, and he would say, "Scotty, beam me up," and he would just dissolve and show up where he needs to show up. You can just dissolve your rose and all that energy in it if you like. So now you can start to come back to the room. Notice how you feel with that energy that has been cleared out of your space. How do you feel? More peaceful, more grounded, empowered to be in your clarity, to move through whatever life brings you. Awesome. You're doing a great job. Checking on the time. So I'd like to teach you one more tool, and this is how we can use the same image of a rose, your same kind of a rose, now that we've been able to create one, to keep someone's upset or energy from coming into our space. Sometimes, well, first I want to say that our bubble largely takes care of this. If you set that bubble around you, it's going to do a great job on keeping energy out of your space. But sometimes we have people in our lives who are going through an upsetting experience and they need to talk about it. Some people are verbal processors. They need to talk about whatever's happening so that they can release the energy of an experience that was upsetting that they had, or something that they're fretting about. Or we have people in our lives that just need, they're watching the news and they're talking about what's going on, and maybe we don't want to have that energy come into our space. Some people tend to focus on, their gravitate to focus on what's wrong, that's happening, and maybe we want to be focusing on what's right and how we can positively move through this energy that we're all in right now. So we can use this rose to help protect our space. And at the same time, we can support our loved ones who need to talk and share about what's happening. So we can be there for our loved ones and our friends, and we can keep our space clear. So again, we're going to use this image of the rose. And in the first example, let's say that you're sitting, I'm going to talk about it and then we'll do it. You're sitting across from a friend or a loved one who is having a challenging experience, and they're talking about, they're upset, and you want to protect yourself from that energy getting into your space at the same time you're supporting them. You can imagine that this rose is just going to be out in front of you. You can create mentally this rose in your imagination and just imagine that it's out in front of you, in between you and that person. So if I'm talking with you, I would just have my imaginary rose up there, like I was just showing. And so the rose, in this case, we can set an intention that it will capture that energy as they are talking about their upset, and you can be there, safe and protected, support them, provide whatever support you want to give, whether it's some advice or maybe just listening. How many times do we just need someone to listen to us and be with us as we talk about something that has been challenging? So this rose can act like a shield, and we can just imagine that it's going to be absorbing the energy from that person um, as they talk about what they need to talk about. And then when they're finished, we're going to send it up and let it explode or be destroyed. We can also use this rose if we're talking to someone while we're on the phone, the same kind of an issue. We can just imagine the rose is there, our imaginary rose is between our ear and the phone as we're talking to them. So you can just set the energy with our intention and attention to visualize it right there. And then as we're talking, then forget about it. And then we're talking on the phone and having a conversation and providing the support that we need to for our loved ones. What about text and email? Same thing. You can be texting and just imagine this imaginary rose that you create to capture the energy coming off your phone before it comes into your space. So you can do this with email. We can do it with email if we're sitting at our computer. Many of us are using our phones, so we might have it this way. But if we're on our computer, we can have it up on the computer and visualize it there. And then that rose will capture all the news media, maybe allow it to capture all of the email, the social media, things that we don't want to come into our space. And so we can have this rose and we can imagine it in front of our TV. The TV news can be upsetting. Yes, we want to be aware of what's going on. We want to be aware of what's going on from a grounded and neutral space. Okay, that's happening. I'm going to be grounded. I'm going to be in my intuitive wisdom and in my best possible place. And I'm going to put my rose and imagine it in front of my TV. Now, if we're at our computer or at our TV, or what we might want to do is imagine our rose, visualization of a rose is grounded. We can do it one of two ways. We can have the rose there, and then when the conversation is finished, we can send it out to be destroyed. Or we can set a grounded rose in front of our TV, in front of our computer. Let the rose grow its stem all the way down to the center of the earth and lock in. And when that rose is grounded to the center of the earth, it's going to be pulling in energy that you don't need and setting it down to the center of the earth to be recycled. And when we use a rose like that we want to ground, we might want to remember to come and change it out every so often, because sometimes they get a little frazzled holding all that energy. So you might imagine that you change it in your meditation space once a day. If you have a place that you like to meditate and you want to set these roses for your protection, you can sit in your meditation room or wherever you like to go and imagine all 3 TVs or however many you have in your home have a rose in front of them. Or the computers, you put a rose in front of them. So there's lots of ways we can use the rose for our protection, and then all the energy, the words and the pictures and the energy is coming into the rose while we stay grounded, centered, and in our intuitive wisdom, connected with spirit, knowing exactly what we need to do in each and every moment. I hope I covered everything. Let's see. For empaths, For empaths, you might want to use this rose often. I told you my story at the beginning, and we so easily absorb energy from other people. So the more often you can set up a rose, remember to do it. And again, you can be in a meditation space and set your roses, or if something comes up, you can do it on the fly. Shut your eyes for a minute. After with some practice, you may very well be able to imagine that rose while you're standing in front of someone. Okay, there's a nice pink rose, and I'm just going to ground it while we're sitting here. Or there's a nice pink rose, picking up this energy so that I can help in the best way I need to help without getting pulled in. So let's do it. Okay, go ahead and close your eyes. Take a nice deep breath to activate that vagus nerve. And exhale. Again, we'll check in with our grounded space, our center of head, and our bubble. We'll go ahead and imagine that we'll have to just use imaginary circumstances, but you can pretend you're using this rose with various people in your lives, no matter if they're having an upset or not. Just pretend, because as we pretend, we activate our imagination, we activate our sixth chakra, which is the energy center that projects what we want to happen into our lives. So I can't emphasize that enough. Okay, so you're checked in, your eyes are closed, you're in your grounded space. Imagine you're sitting across from someone, a loved one or a friend or someone you know who is talking about an upset. Maybe they're worried about something that's happened, afraid, or whatever experience they're having. You want to support but not fall into that energy. Visualize that rose. If you're talking to this person and they're sitting at the dining room table or on the couch, just imagine that you're setting up this rose. Notice what color it is. Is it orange, yellow, blue, green? Notice the stem. Notice the leaves. Notice the connection to the rose hip. Notice if it's a flower, if the flower or the rose petals, the bloom is opened or if it's more closed. Just imagine what color rose you have and imagine that that's sitting there between you and that person, activating its ability with your attention and intention to allow any words and thoughts that they're having, any energy that's coming up for them, to go into the rose so that they have an opportunity to release what they need to release. You can support them, but it's not creeping into your space. Next, when that conversation is complete, you could go ahead and imagine that rose is floating up and out of the room, up into the sky, and we're going to have you destroy it, whether it is blowing it up, setting it on fire, or whether you are letting it dissolve like on Star Trek. Nice job. Now, while your eyes are still closed, let's imagine that you're sitting somewhere in your house and you're on your phone and you're going to imagine that rose, but with the imaginary rose between your phone and your head as you talk to someone who needs your support. And you are allowing that energy as they talk and they process verbally what they need to process. That energy goes into the rose right there by your ear from the phone and not into your space, capturing any energy that's not your vibration while you stay grounded, centered, and supported. And now imagine that conversation is complete and you've hung the phone up and you can just let that energy float, or that rose float out of the room, up into the sky, and let it explode, burn up, or dissolve. So we can use this for text and email. I mentioned that earlier. So if you're looking at If you're looking at some text messages on your phone and you find them disturbing, you can imagine the rose on your phone. And for this exercise, you can imagine you've got your phone or your computer up and your rose. Imagine, just close your eyes for a moment and imagine the rose is there. See the color that you're using, whether it's open or closed, the petals, the rose hip. You can ground it if it's going to be a rose you want for an extended period of time. So decide what you want to use for this exercise. A grounded rose on your computer or a rose laying on top of your phone for text and social media. Just imagine it's there so that you can look at the media. Oh, recognize that it is something maybe you don't want to pay too much attention to. Swipe it, erase it, move through the email, however you want to handle that correspondence from that neutral grounded space. You can decide what's right for you and be in your truth and your own vibration. So when that's complete, if you've got the rose on your phone, you could ground it if you're going to be using it for a while, or if you've got just a rose laying on top of it, imagine the rose from your phone just floating out into the sky and let it blow up, burn up, or dissolve. For the computer, you might want to leave it there, but you can always practice destroying it. Destroying energy is a great tool to have. I'm just going to mention quickly that when we destroy energy, it allows more room for us to create. So some people kind of are concerned about destroying. Well, I don't want to destroy. Well, it's like cleaning out the closet. It's hard for us to buy new clothes if we don't clear out the closet for things that we're not wearing and we're not using. There just isn't any room in there. So I encourage you to practice destroying these roses because it clears energy out of your space and leaves more room for you to be in your grounded and spiritually connected space and your own vibration. We talked about the news. So while you're in your meditation space with your eyes closed in that grounded space, you might go ahead and just imagine that this rose that you're creating, decide what color to use, is you're creating a copy of it down in front of your TV. Just let the TV, a nice rose, sit out in front of a TV. You might make it really big, depend on what the size of your TV is. And you can set a ground. If it were me, I would set a grounded rose in front of each TV. And you can have it nice and big. Imagine it there. And then notice that it will start to work and pull that energy away from your space. And then you can just forget about it and watch your programs and watch TV and notice that you can be neutral. You can just let that information fly by. Okay, I know what I need to do about that. I'm up with the news, but it's not coming into my energy. So if you've left a grounded rose in front of your TV, that's great. We'll go ahead and come back into our space. Just let any roses that you have around you that aren't destroyed, just gather those up. If you see any energy that you want to clear out with a rose, gather those up and send the last rose up into the sky to be exploded or burnt up or dissolved. And go ahead and take a nice deep breath. And then start to come back to the room. Nice. Open your eyes. Just stretch a little like you would like to. And I'm going to share my screen again. See if I can do this right. I'm going to share a screen with a summary on it and also with how you can get in touch with me. So here we are. Okay, so let me go to the next slide. So here's our summary of what we talked about today. We did a 3-step method to ground, open up our intuitive center, and set an aura boundary around us in a nice color. And then we learned a tool to use cobalt blue to activate the body's natural method of calming us, our natural calming system, which is our parasympathetic pathway. And we painted it with that nice calming color of cobalt blue. And I would emphasize again that if you would rather use a different color, feel free to use what's right for you. If you get an intuitive message to use a different color, do so. But otherwise, cobalt blue works wonderfully. We learned a tool to use a rose, an image of a rose with intention to release energy from any of our chakras or just out in front of us to release any energy we'd like to release from our space. So we can get more specific using the rose at different energy centers, or we can just set that rose out in front of us and allow it to pull energy that we want to clear away. This naturally allows your own soul essence to shine more vibrantly and for you to be grounded in your own space of truth. The third tool we did was to learn to use a rose with intention to keep energy out outside your space, someone else's energy, whether they're having anxiety or whatever. So we can support our loved ones. We can stay aware of what's on the news, but we don't need to allow someone else's energy or that free floating anxiousness that's in the space right now in the world to come into our space. And we learned that we could use that rose in person with someone out in front of us. We can use that rose over the phone. The phone just sandwiched between our head and the phone. We can use that rose on our phone for text and social media that might be disturbing. And we can use it in front of our TVs in our home and leave that grounded rose there to capture the anxiety that's coming in from the TV. And this likewise will help us to naturally stay grounded and in our own truth and a vibration of trust. So I'm going to stop. I had one more slide. So this last slide I want to show you has some information on how you can get in touch with me. My website is www.energetichealingarts.com. My contact information is sue@energetichealingarts.com. My phone number is 720-351-3492. And I'm available, I should have put there by text or by phone. That's my cell. My Facebook handle is @CreatePossibilities, so you can get to my page. I am, and my Instagram is, before I go there, my Instagram is energetic.healing.arts. And so you can go to my website and sign up to be on my email list. I send out a monthly newsletter. And then if I'm having a class or something special, I will send out information on activities and events. You can also see that information on my Facebook page at Create Possibility. And for those of you who are attending the summit, I'm offering 30% off your reading or healing and 20% off any class I'm teaching. I am teaching classes at the Althea Center for the spiritually engaged. And during this time of the pandemic, I may be teaching some classes, additional classes over Zoom. I'm just getting comfortable with it. So stop sharing and come back to the room, and thank all of you for coming to my session today. I hope these tools are useful. If you have questions that you weren't able to, that I didn't answer, or if you try the tools and get stumped with something, feel free to text me or call me. I'd be happy to talk you through using that tool so that you can be in your best energetic space. And again, thank you for joining.